Dust stung Zara's eyes as she stood on the windswept plain. Her spear clutched tight, the ground shaking under the thunder of hooves. The northern raiders charged, their horses snorting, their swords flashing like lightning in the gray dawn. Fear clawed at her chest, but Zara's deep brown skin glowed with sweat and defiance, her shoulder-length curly hair bouncing free under the open sky. She was no longer Zari, the boy who'd fooled the world. She was Zara, the Swahili warrior girl, standing with Prince Liwei's small army, ready to fight for a city that wasn't hers. Her heart pounded like the drums of her homeland, loud and fierce as she faced the enemy. This was her moment to prove she belonged, or to fall trying. The plain stretched wide, a sea of grass bending under a cold wind, with Chongan's walls a faint shadow in the distance. Zara's blue robe whipped around her, torn at the edges from days of training. She glanced at Liwei, leading the soldiers a few steps ahead. His pale skin shone like moonlight, his sharp jawline set with determination, his silky black hair tied tight in a silver cord. His leather armor hugged his lean frame, and his golden-flecked eyes burned with courage. He was beautiful like a hero from a song, but worry shadowed his face. The nobles had mocked him, calling him weak, and their words had seeped into his men, making them doubt. Zara's heart ached for him. She'd fight for him, for them, for herself. The raiders hit like a storm. Their horses galloped, kicking up dirt, their shouts raw and wild. Zara's soldiers gripped their swords, nervous, but she taught them her spear dancing tricks. Fast steps, quick strikes like gazelles dodging lions. "Stay light," she shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Aim for their horses." The men nodded, their eyes wide but trusting. They called her Teacher Zara now, a name that warmed her even as fear chilled her bones. She thought of her mother's smile, her brother's lessons, the savannah where she'd learned to be fierce. This was her fight, her chance to show the world who she was. The battle exploded. Swords clashed, horses screamed, and the air filled with dust and blood. Zara moved like a whirlwind, her spear spinning, her curls flying. She darted between raiders, her strikes sharp and fast, aiming for their horses' legs as she taught the soldiers. One horse fell, then another, their riders tumbling into the dirt. The soldiers followed her lead, their swords flashing in patterns she'd shown them. The raiders, expecting heavy blows, faltered against this dance of speed. Zara's heart soared, she was turning the tide, her moves a song of her homeland sung in blood and steel. But then disaster. A raider's arrow sliced through the air, striking Liwei's shoulder. He stumbled, blood staining his armor, his sword dropping. Zara's heart stopped. "Liwei!" she screamed, her voice raw. She ran to him, her spear a blur as she blocked a raider's sword aimed at his head. Another came, his horse rearing, but Zara spun, her spear piercing his side. She stood over Liwei, her breath ragged, her eyes blazing like fire. "Stay back!" she roared, and the raiders hesitated, stunned by the fierce girl with the flashing spear. Liwei looked up at her, pain in his golden eyes but also awe, like she was a star fallen to earth. Zara fought like a lioness, her spear striking, her body dodging, until the raiders began to retreat, their horses scattering across the plain. The soldiers cheered, their voices rising like a wave. They surrounded Zara, clapping her back, calling her Ebony Blossom, a name that spread like wildfire. She helped Liwei to his feet, her hands shaking as she touched his arm, blood warm under her fingers. "You're hurt," she whispered, her throat tight. He smiled, weak but warm, his idol-like face pale but beautiful. "You saved me," he said, his voice soft as a breeze. Zara's heart twisted, a mix of relief and something deeper, something that scared her. They returned to Chongan as heroes, the city's gates opening wide, banners waving in the wind. The soldiers carried Liwei on a litter, his wound bandaged but his spirit strong. Zara walked beside him, her spear heavy, her curls damp with sweat. The people lined the streets, cheering, throwing flowers. "Ebony Blossom!" they shouted, their voices full of awe. Zara's chest swelled, but doubt gnawed at her. She was a hero now, but she was still a stranger, a girl from a faraway land. Would they ever truly accept her? In the palace, the emperor himself honored them. The throne room glittered, its marble floors shining, its walls painted with dragons and clouds. The emperor, his face stern but proud, stood in golden robes, his crown gleaming. "Zara," he said, his voice booming, "you've saved Chongan. Stay, serve in my court." The nobles gasped, their silk fans snapping shut. Zara's heart leaped, but fear followed. "Serve here, in this golden cage, where every smile hid a knife." She glanced at Li Wei, his shoulder wrapped in white cloth, his eyes warm with pride. She wanted to stay, for him, for the spark between them, but her homeland called, its drums echoing in her heart. That night trouble brewed. At a feast, nobles whispered poison, their voices sharp as thorns. "She's a foreigner," one hissed, his eyes cold. "She bewitches the prince, threatens the throne." Another sneered, "A girl warrior. She'll ruin us." Zara sat at the table, her blue robe feeling too tight, her curls framing her face like a crown. She wanted to shout, to tell them she'd bled for their city, but fear held her tongue. Li Wei, sitting beside her, slammed his hand on the table, his face fierce. "Zara is our strength," he said, his voice like iron. "She's worth more than your lies." The nobles fell silent, but their glares promised danger. Later, Zara stood alone on a palace balcony, the night cool, the stars bright above Chongan. Her heart was a storm, pride for her victory, fear of the nobles' plots, longing for her village's golden savanna. She thought of her father, still trading in the markets, unaware of her battles. She thought of her mother, whose laughter lived in her dreams. Could she stay in this strange land, where she was both hero and outcast? Li Wei joined her, his steps quiet, his wounded shoulder stiff. His pale skin glowed in the moonlight, his sharp features soft with worry. "You're troubled," he said, his voice gentle. "What's wrong?" Zara's eyes stung with tears. "I fought for you for Chongan," she said, her voice shaking. "But they hate me. I don't belong." Li Wei stepped closer, his golden eyes locked on hers. "You belong with me," he said, his words a spark in the dark. "You make this place brighter." Zara's breath caught, her heart racing. His hand brushed hers, warm and steady, and for a moment the world felt right. But doubt lingered. She was a warrior, not a princess, and the nobles' whispers were a shadow over her future. As they stood under the stars, Zara faced a choice. Stay in Chongan, fight for her place beside Li Wei, and face the nobles' schemes, or return to her homeland, to the savannah and sea, where she was just Zara, not the ebony blossom. Her heart pulled both ways, torn between love and home. Li Wei's eyes held hers, full of unspoken promises, and she felt a warmth she couldn't name. The battle was won, but a new fight loomed. Not on a plain, but in her heart, in the palace, in a land that both lifted her up and pushed her away. The grand banquet hall glowed like a golden dream, but Zara's heart thumped with fear, loud as the drums of her Swahili home. She stood at the edge of the room, her deep brown skin shining under flickering lanterns, her shoulder-length curly hair bouncing free, no longer hidden under a cap. Her blue robe, embroidered with silver threads, felt heavy, like it carried the weight of every stair in the room. Nobles in shimmering silk whispered behind their fans, their eyes sharp as knives. They called her Ebony Blossom, the warrior girl who'd saved Chongan, but their smiles hid poison. Zara's stomach twisted. She was a hero, but still a stranger in this glittering Tang palace, and tonight, her future hung on a thread. The hall was a wonder. Long tables piled with roasted pheasant, sweet rice cakes, and fruits that glowed like jewels. Musicians played soft tunes on bamboo flutes, their notes floating like petals. The emperor sat at the head, his golden robes gleaming, his stern face softened by pride. Prince Li Wei, breathtaking as ever, stood nearby, his pale skin glowing like moonlight, his sharp jawline and silky black hair tied with a silver cord making him look like a star from a song. His golden-flecked eyes found Zara's, and her heart skipped, caught between warmth and worry. He'd defended her against the noble's scorn, fought beside her against raiders, and shared his dreams under the stars. But tonight the air felt heavy, like a storm was coming. Zara's mind swirled with memories of her savannah home, where the grass stretched golden and the sea sang lullabies, of her mother's laughter, now just a whisper in her heart. She'd come to Chongan with her father, a merchant trading spices and ivory, never dreaming she'd fight in a tournament, reveal her true self, or stand here, a hero in a foreign land. But the noble's whispers grew louder, their words like thorns. "She's a danger," one hissed. "She sways the prince, weakens the throne." Zara's hands trembled, but she lifted her chin, her dark eyes fierce. She'd faced raiders, saved lives. Why couldn't she belong? The emperor raised his cup, silencing the hall. "Tonight we honor courage," he boomed. "Zara, the ebony blossom, and my son Li Wei have guarded our city. Let us feast." The crowd cheered, but Zara felt their eyes, some warm, some cold. She sat beside Li Wei, her heart racing as their shoulders brushed. His sandalwood scent wrapped around her, calming her nerves. He leaned close, his voice low. "You're shaking," he said, his golden eyes soft with worry. Zara forced a smile. "It's hard to be here," she whispered. "They don't want me." Li Wei's jaw tightened, his gaze fierce. "I want you," he said, and her breath caught, her heart a wild drum. The feast went on, laughter and music filling the air, but tension simmered. A noble, his face sharp as a hawk's, stood and spoke, his voice dripping with venom. "Zara fights well, but she's no Tang lady," he said, his fan snapping shut. "She pulls Prince Li Wei from his duty, to marry for the empire's strength." The hall fell silent, all eyes on Zara. Her face burned, her curls framing her like a crown she didn't want. She wanted to shout, to tell them she'd bled for their city, but fear choked her. She was a warrior, not a princess, and their words cut deep. Then Li Wei stood. His leather armor swapped for a jade green robe that shimmered like a river. His idol-like beauty stunned the room, but his voice was steel. "Enough," he said, his words slicing the air. "Zara is no threat. She's my equal, my partner in courage." He turned to her, his eyes blazing with something deeper than pride, something that made her heart leap. "I don't want a bride bound by politics. I want Zara to share a quest to bridge our worlds." The crowd gasped, nobles clutching their fans, the emperor's eyes narrowing. Zara's heart stopped. Was this real? Was he choosing her not as a wife, but as something more? A partner in a dream bigger than the throne. Tears stung Zara's eyes, her heart torn in two. She loved Li Wei. The way his smile warmed her, the way his dreams of exploring the world matched hers. But her home called, its savannah winds whispering her name, her father's laughter waiting by the sea. Could she stay in this golden cage, where nobles plotted and rules chained her? Or should she go back where she was just Zara, not a hero or a threat? Her hands shook as she stood, her voice trembling but clear. "I'm honored," she said, looking at Li Wei, then the emperor. "I want to stay, but not forever. Let me be an ambassador to join my home with yours, to share our stories." The emperor's face softened, a rare smile breaking through. "Wise words, ebony blossom," he said. "You'll serve as our voice to your Swahili kingdom, building trade and peace." The nobles murmured, some angry, some curious, but Zara felt a weight lift. She wasn't trapped, not yet. She'd stay for now, for Li Wei, for the chance to make her mark. Li Wei's smile was bright as the sun, his hand brushing hers under the table, a secret promise that sent sparks through her. After the feast, Zara and Li Wei slipped away to a palace balcony, the night cool and quiet. Chongan sparkled below, its lanterns like stars fallen to earth, the silk road humming with travelers' dreams. Zara leaned on the stone railing, her curls swaying in the breeze, her deep brown skin glowing under the moonlight. Li Wei stood beside her, his pale face soft, his sharp features etched with hope. You chose to stay, he said, his voice a whisper. Zara nodded, her heart full but heavy. For now, she said. I want to build something with you, but my home pulls me too. Li Wei's golden eyes held hers, warm and steady. We'll build it together, he said. Your world, my world, joined. He stepped closer, his hand hovering near hers, not touching but close enough to make her heart race. She thought of her mother, who'd told her to chase her dreams, and her father, who'd brought her to this strange land. She thought of the savannah, the sea, the drums that lived in her blood. Staying meant fighting, nobles, rules, her own fears, but leaving meant losing Li Wei. This spark that felt like home in a different way. They stood there, gazing at the stars, their futures cloudy but bright with possibility. Zara felt his warmth beside her, his quiet strength a light in her storm. The Silk Road stretched beyond the city, a path of new journeys, new fights, new dreams. She wasn't just the ebony blossom, not just a warrior or a stranger. She was Zara, and with Li Wei she could be more. The night wrapped around them, their hearts intertwined, as the stars whispered of adventures yet to come.